Hello and welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to Revit. I'm Justice. I will be introducing you on to families in this tutorial in Revit. We've been creating a whole lot of models. We've been using the model tool. But in this tutorial, I will be showing you how to use families, and in the subsequent tutorials, I will probably be using these families. What are families in Revit, you might ask? Well, families in Revit are just simple basic components. You can call them components also, that you import and put in your Revit project to bring them to life or to make them really look realistic. So you can create a whole lot of families: doors, windows, sofas, chairs, tables, name them, anything you actually think of to make your building look nice, be it interior or exterior, can be created in Revit. So we are going to be creating one of these stuffs in AUTODESK Revit in this tutorial. So what are we going to be creating, you might ask? Well, we'll be creating this. Looks nice, really nice. So this is a gate that you can actually use for your contemporary designs, be it your contemporary duplex, bungalow, or any contemporary design you might be doing. These gates can actually really serve you a whole lot. So I'll be modeling this with you in this tutorial. Please try as much as possible to subscribe to our channel, like our videos, share to your friends, and when you subscribe, do hit the notification bell so that when next we drop videos such as this, you will be notified, and then you can also follow up in the video to also help you to learn a whole lot about Revit and Revit families too. So I'm going to be creating this family that we talked about, that I just showed you in Autodesk Revit. So to do that, we'll click on new, and then we'll be asked to pick a template. This is the English Imperial. We don't want to use this, so we'll go back and then we'll just select English alone. So here you'll be seeing a whole lot of templates you can use. There's data, there's metric baluster, there's metric door, metric, and all of them. So basically you want to use a template that you can be able to create stuffs from. So you don't want to use a template where you can just you want to just do a whole lot of things on. What am I saying in essence? If you're creating a template, or if you're creating a family that has to do with railing, of course you need to use one of the railing. If you are creating a family that has to do with a review, the review comes in. So we also have wall-based families. If you want to create something that is going to be wall-based, we have windows and the rest of them. But for this tutorial, I'm just going to be using the metric furniture to create what I want to. You can also use the metric generic model if you like. That can also help you to create. So let me introduce you to the metric generic model. So it's going to take us to our Revit user interface, and it's going to pop out with just these levels. In normal in the models in Revit, we have level 1, level 2, and the rest of them if you're using a template. But in families, we will just come into the ref level, and then these lines you're seeing here are called the reference lines. So you can actually rename them if you like, but you can also leave them, and they are always pinned, but you can pin them and delete them if you like. But I just want to pin them and make sure they are pinned. So one thing I normally do, or one thing you will notice in the Revit family, is that you'll be provided a 3D, a front and a left. So basically 2 elevations, 1 3D, and then the floor plan. You can create other, or you can go to other levels, other views here in the elevation. You can also create other stuffs in your ceiling plan and the rest of them, but we'll just create what we have. So it's not as if this is stagnant. You can also extend this line if you like, but we'll leave it this as it is. So one thing we need to do is to always make sure we are in tune with our picture and make sure that what we are creating is in line with what we have in the picture. So this is what I normally do. So I'm going to go to my front elevation. I always like creating from my front elevation because the picture I have is the front elevation basically. So you just show me the front of the gate I want to create. So I'll go to my front elevation, I'll go to insert, then I'm going to go to insert images or import images. So yes, then I'm going to close this. I'm going to go and find my picture where I have it, the picture I'm creating from. Okay, so this is what I want to use. Then I'm going to open, and then basically it's going to come into my Revit. So I'm just going to place this here. So why did I import this? Well, I imported this so I can just be looking at it while I'm creating. so it just makes it easier for me. So one thing I need to do first is to make sure I set up where the middle of my gate is, so I can do that by using line. So I can just use model line and then try and find the center of my gate, basically a line that divides this into two equal parts. So this line divides this into two equal parts. I want to move it a little bit central. Yeah. So from the line to the edge of this, it's equal. From this to this is equal. So that is what this guy is actually going to stand in for. That's this reference line is going to work as. So it's going to work as this middle line right here. All right. So we'll just go straight and start modeling it. So one thing we'll need to create first is we'll start creating our gates first, the main gates themselves. So we'll start creating them ourselves to determine what they look like. So we'll create the main gate first. One thing you will notice is that the main gate is just a repetition of a rectangle, a continuous repetition of a rectangle. Then at the end, they were not joined together in this particular line. So I'm going to quickly do that. Alright, so we'll go to create. Under create, we'll use extrusion for this particular project. It's not as if we cannot use the other ones, but we'll just basically use extrusion. So I'm going to create the gate, remembering this line here in the middle is acting as this reference line. So basically I'm going to create the gate as a point here. Then first thing I need to do is to determine the width of my gate, and I want this gate to be 4 meters, and then I will enter. So that's where 4 meters is. So this is good. So I'm going to go to line again. That means half of this is going to be 2.2 meters. That's 2 plus 2 is 4 now. So this is 2.5. I'm going to use 2.5 meters. So at the end of the day, I will have a gate that is 5 meters wide. So I'm going to click this. Then I will now need to determine the height of my gate as well. Okay. So this 2.5 in width. I want my height to be somewhere around 2 meters. Then I'm going to enter. Then I'm going to get this to the center. Alright, so what I need to do now is to use this offset tool, and then I'm going to offset this by 50 mm as the thickness of each. So 50 mm is going to act as the thickness of each of these, because the thickness is actually the same. So I'm now going to check. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So basically I have 7 of them. Am I right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So 7. Okay. So I want to equally make the same gap between them, which is 50. So okay, so we have just adjusted this. Remember the thickness before that we used was 50, so I just made this 100, and then I have 5 of this. So if we check our picture, so basically don't pay attention to the entire details at the same time. If you're creating Revit families, don't pay details to the entire picture you are creating. Just divide them as much as you can, and then pay attention to them bit by bit. So this is what we have. This is what I have created so far, just this part. Then if you notice, there's this join here, there's this line here that joins, then there's this other one too that joins straight. So let me try and show you that here. Okay, so this is what I meant. So there's this line here that joins this to this, and there's another tiny one here, the same thing here. Then it also continued right up here too. So basically, sorry about that. So basically what you need to do is to just make sure you're creating them exactly how they look. Okay, so this is just the basic ones that we can see there. So that's just it. So um as you can see here. So we'll just do that one quickly. So we'll just do the ones that joins here and here, then we can now continue. So all I need to do is to draw with a line. I think that one is much smaller, so we can decide to make it very small. It's much smaller, very very small. So I think 10 mm might be able to do that. Okay, so it runs from that place to this part, then we're going to pick lines. Then let's see, 10 mm. Oh, 20. Okay, I think I like 20 much better. Alright, so that's just for that one. So one thing you notice is that it did not cut all through them. It didn't cut all through them, so you just started from here, and so we'll use the split element to and just cut all these guys as much as we can. We use the split again. Okay, I think we've cut here, so we'll use trim this time around. Okay, we'll still use splits. This is so that it doesn't end up splitting all through where we do not even want it to pass through. Okay. It's a bit tedious creating Revit families. It's quite tedious, it takes a whole lot of work. But at the end of the day, you tend to appreciate it much better when you actually see the real thing after you are done. So I'm going to trim this all out. This goes to this, this goes to this. No, that's not what I want. Ctrl Z. No. Yeah. The gate we've created so far. The thickness is actually by default 250. We do not want that. That's actually really big. So I want a thickness of 200. Still big. 150 is okay by me. So 150 thick gates. It's too thick. Let's check our reference picture. It's not showing us anything about the thickness actually. Let's change this to 100 mm. Okay, so this is nice. Okay, so this is basically how it's going to look in plan for our gates. This is the elevation we just drew. So we've ended up creating this guy here. So it's now remaining the other part of the gate, which is this other person. It has just 1, 2. But this is actually very dicey. This is what I mean. This started up right here. It's not like this bigger one that is just single rectangles that are just around each other. This particular one is started from here and then it went up all through this way and keeps on going. So it started from a point and then it ended at this point. So we'll just do that quickly too. So the for the column that is going to hold these two together, we can actually use a 225 mm wall. So we'll be giving a 225 mm gap. So we'll go to create and then go to extrusion and then we'll use speak line and then we'll give a gap of 225 from the other one. I don't know why I'm thinking 225 is small. Let's use 300. I'm trying to gauge what is in the picture so we have something looking close to what they have in that picture. Okay. Alright, so this is okay by me. So now I'm going to now change this to 100 mm. As for this, then I have another one. There's like a gap. Then I have another one, which is the one. And I have the inner one. This is where it stops. So that's just that. Yeah, that's just the inner one. So this is just from this inner one. We're going to go all around, and then so I'm still going to have pick lines again. Then I'm going to change this to 100 too. I'm going to have a gap, then I'm going to have one, another gap, then I'm going to have this. Okay. So basically they're all going to have the same top. Not basically the same top though, but we want it to be the same top with the one of these. Though in the picture it's not actually, they don't actually share the same base. We can actually change that subsequently. Alright, so what I need to do now is to find my center. So this is the first one, this is the second one. So this two is my center, so I'm going to draw a line here. So this is like my center point. Then I'm going to go and use pick lines again, 100 mm. So basically I'm going to be having one, I'm going to have a gap, two, I'm going to have a gap, and then the last one. Okay. So basically I'm starting from here, then I'm coming up. Select all this, use pick mirror with axis, withdraw axis, and we can flip this to this. Yeah, we don't want the same overlapping stuff here, so this is okay. So I'm going to select this and then I'm going to move this up. Okay, so one thing I need to do is to start from the center point, and I'm going to go all the way up here, then down. It's actually a whole lot of work, so I'm just going to quickly do that so this video doesn't take a whole lot of time. Okay, so this is the stuff we were creating for the other smaller gates, as you can see. So we have just finished this. So it started from here and then it runs all through and then ends at this point. So once we finish this, we have this. The default thickness is 250. We made this one 100, so we're going to equally adjust that. As you can see, it's very thick, so we're going to make this 100 too. Okay, so it's basically the same thickness. So if we rotate these guys, we can see the gate we have just managed to create. So of course there is no material yet assigned to any of them yet. As you can see, the material here is by category, or we'll still assign a material to them when we are wrapping up the tutorial. Okay, so we'll go to our reference picture again. So we have our gates created already. So what we need to now pay attention to is the larger base, the larger column, and the frame. It's just like a framework. covering each particular gate. So that's what we need to pay attention to now. So we'll just do that quickly. That one once it's not that it's not actually that hard. So we'll go to create and go to extrusion, and then we'll just draw. So basically it's actually the same, but I'm seeing kind of a gap between these two guys, but I'm not going to put that gap there because I'm looking at this gate sliding to this side, because it doesn't look like it's a swinging gate, and then the fence here, I don't think the fence here is going to allow it to slide to that place. So I'm thinking this is a sliding gate that slides to this side, or we can actually also make it to be a swing gate. But I think a sliding gate works better for us here. So I'm just going to um, draw here just at the edge of this place and make sure they have the same base. And if you notice, this is very thick, much thicker than this and even this. So this is like very thick, is like the dominant stuff here. So I'm going to make that 900 mm is going to be very big, but I actually think it's between that range. Okay, let me use 900 mm. Actually really big, but what can we say? So I might change that later on. So I'm going to use peak line, and then I'm going to guess that the height from the gate to where that top is, do I think is up to 1 meter? I think so. I think it's even higher than 1 meter. So I might use 2 meters. It's 2 meters, very high. It looks really high. Let's say 1.8 meters. Okay, so I'm going to trim this up. Then I'm still going to use 100 mm as the thickness for the top here. No, not really 200. So one thing about creating these families yourself is that you can actually change them subsequently if there's a need for you to do that. You can change them yourself. If one particular project varies from another project, of course you can change them yourself. So what I want to do is to actually draw a line. I'm going to use pick line, so I'm just going to make it all easy for me. Then I'm going to trim this to this, then this, then this to this. So that gives me what I want there. So I'm just going to click on finish. So it's going to finish. If you go to your 3D view, you can basically see what we've created here. So the gate looks like it is inside it. We might want to make this very thick. 500 mm is really thick, but that can work for us. So let's check the reference picture. It looks like gate is in the center, so we'll just click on this, and then I'm going to use this. Then before we move this, I'm going to disassociate the work plane, and I'm going to be able to now move. I want this center to be in the center. Okay, so yeah, so this is what we have so far. So we'll go back to the front, and then we'll create the framework for this other person here. So basically I want my frameworks to be associated together, so I'm going to draw them as if they are going to be together. So basically this is not as high as the one for the first one is. I'm going to leave that, and then I'm going to use we use 1.8 in the other one, so let me use 800 for this. Is it high? I don't think so. I don't think it's that high, but 1.8 is quite, but it needs to get to this, so I think I might want to make this 1.2 meters. Really high. 1 meter. I think 1 meter does my job, of course. So remembering the thickness I used for this particular one, use the 200 mm thickness, so that's equal to the same thing I'm going to do here, 0.2 meters. Then for these other parts of the beam, of the column, it's not as big as the one for the main gate. 500 mm. Yeah, 500 mm is good. So I'm going to trim all out. Now, of course, I'm going to be giving them a base level and make sure they all close up. Now for this gets to where you have this. So I'm going to pick lines, trim and extend. So I have this here. Okay. So I equally have a center base, a center column. So I'm going to be drawing that with a box. Since I already know and I've determined the thickness, I'm just going to be drawing this with a box here. Okay. I hope you're seeing that it's not actually really hard to create Revit families. It's just following the principle of dividing them into various parts, like dividing, once you see a picture like this, just divide them into as many parts as you can. Remember, we started by creating the first part of the big gate, then flipping it, then creating the second part, and then the framing will come up last. Okay, so if we finish this, we already have our gate. Our gate is beginning to take shape, as you can see. So this is just what we have created so far. Okay, we're not through. As you can see, we have kind of a connector. I don't really know from this particular view, from where this picture was taken from, I don't know if this is round or if it is square. So I don't really know which one it is. I don't know if it's round or square, but I'm going to create it to be very round. So I'm going to go to the ref level. Can still stay in the front. I'm going to go to the 3D. It started from this place, so I'm going to go to create extrusion. Then I'm going to check the drop down icon under set work plane. Then I'm going to click on pick a plane, click OK, and pick this blue part. And then I'm just going to go to this top, and then I'm going to draw it to be circular. I don't know the radius. Should I use 150? I think 140 is okay. If it comes out well, then we can now, of course, do what we want to do with it. So this is this. I think 140 is actually bigger because this guy is really small. So I'm going to edit, let's say 100 mm. Still big. Okay, I think this is what we want. So I'm going to draw this to this place. I think the gap inside is actually a little bit inside here, and it's 3. So I'm going to click, since I've clicked on this, then I will just copy it and have a minimum gap of 400 is okay, 400 is okay. Okay, so basically I have this created as this. So if we go to our 3D view, we're seeing the top now, so we can appreciate what we have created so far. It's not yet a material, we've not yet assigned materials to it, so that's why it's looking like this when we click on shaded. But I hope you have seen the basic principles of doing this. So it's just basically it. With the reference picture we have, let's confirm show shaded. Then we have this guy here. Okay, so what we need to do now is apply material. So this is black, this is black. So I'm going to click on this. I'm going to find a material. If there is no material, I can create some material for it. Basically, there is no material here. So I'm going to go to default. I'm going to duplicate material and asset, and I'm going to call this black. Then I'm going to change the color to really black. I'm going to click on OK. Then there is no basic appearance, but you can also put an appearance if you like. I'm going to apply. I'm going to click OK, so you just see it here. So I'm going to Control C to copy the material, which is black. Then the same thing, I'm going to do this guy. And Control V to paste to assign the same material to them. Then I'm going to select all these three together, and then I'm going to do the same thing. Control V. Okay, so they have the same material now. So we are forgetting something actually. Let me move this guy. So there's actually another framework here. As you can see, there's actually another framework here. So I can just quickly do that. So what I need to do is to go to create and click on extrusion, set my work plane again, and then I'll set pick a plane. And I need to pick this front side because that's where you have the framework. So I'm going to click on square. It didn't get to the top, so maybe somewhere here to somewhere here. Okay, so I'm going to pick line. I don't think I can use 50 mm. Let me use 70 mm as the thickness. I think it's more. 100 mm. I think it's small compared to what we have in the picture. Let's use 130. Okay. The square in the center, so I want to give a bit of a gap. Okay. And I need to select this one I already have. So I selected it to centralize it. Okay. So I'm going to finish this so you can actually see that particular framework too. If we go to our 3D, you can see it. So it's thick, really thick. I don't want it to be that thick. So let's say 80 mm thick. Okay. So if we go to our front, so basically it has its own different material. It looks like marbles, a little bit like marble. So I'm going to assign a material to it. If I have an image I want to use, I don't know if I really have marble textures, but let me check if I do. No, not something like this. Okay, I think yeah, something of this nature. I don't know if there's another better one. I actually think it's something of this nature. I think this one suits it much better. Then come on. Oh, I just made a mistake right now. I don't know if you guys noticed. I didn't duplicate my materials, so I need to duplicate this and call this frame. Now we'll go to the appearance. I think the one, yeah, I think which one was that again? Okay, this, and I'll open. Go to graphics, check use render appearance, apply, and then OK. So it has its own material. Now, if you want to see the material where you might want to change the textures, so you see its own material. Alright, so for the other ones, for the other columns, this is a kind of milk color. You might just want to leave it as white if you want to. So I'm going to still duplicate this. Always remember to do that. Now I'm going to call this column. Then I'm going to uncheck render appearance because there's no, and I'm going to remove this. Change the color to somewhere close to a white. We can actually use yellow and then try and make it cream, something like that. apply. Okay. Okay, yeah, mistake. Then remove the picture. Still not doing what I wanted to do. Okay, this is what I'll do. Since there's no image here, I'm going to duplicate this. I can actually leave it as the default one. Choose this yellow color, bring it up a little bit, apply. Okay. I feel it's too yellow. Yellow is still too much. Close to a white will do. Yeah, something like this. So that is just that. So we've ended up creating this particular guy in this. This base here, the column here is actually has a different material to the other ones. You can actually do that yourself by just changing the material like we said. Alright guys, so this is what we have done so far in AUTODESK Revit. You might want to save this, so you control S, it's going to save as a family. So we'll just save this to desktop and I'll call this gates. I think this is the third gate I'm creating, so I'm going to call this gate 3. I'm going to enter, so it's going to save. So once it's done saving, we can just load in a project that we already have. Let's say something like this. So basically we're opening a project itself now, not a family, so that we're going to test what we have created. Okay, so I'm going to go to the NGL. So we have something like this. I'm going to go to 3D of this. I'm going to load into project and close. So you're basically going to see my gates is now acting like a component. So let's say I place this somewhere here. So if you go to the 3D of this particular project, it's in textures already. So you can see what we have created. You can see our gate in this particular project here. Alright, hope the video was helpful. Please do like and subscribe to our channel. Follow us and tell your friends about this channel. Tell them they need to equally subscribe to our channel. Hit the notification bell to subscribe if you haven't done that already. And thank you so much for joining us in this journey to create our first Revit family with you. We'll be creating more. Stay tuned. See you in the next video. Peace.